Greetings, adventurer, and welcome to the Elder Scrolls Library. My name is Aurelius, your lore master, and today we are reading and discussing 2920 Sun's Dawn, which appears in 4 of the Elder Scrolls games: Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, and Elder Scrolls Online. This book is the second in a 12-part historical series about the final year of the First Era. Let's get into 2920 Sun's Dawn. Sun's Dawn, Book 2 of 2920, The Last Year of the First Era, by Karlovac Townway. Third of Sun's Dawn, 2920, The Isle of Artaeum, Somerset. Sothasil watched the initiates float one by one up to the Oassum tree, taking a fruit or a flower from its high branches before dropping back to the ground with varying degrees of grace. He took a moment while nodding his head in approval to admire the day. The whitewashed statue of Siribane, which the great mage was said to have posed for in ancient days, stood at the precipice of the cliff overlooking the bay. Pale purple proscato flowers waved to and fro in the gentle breeze. Beyond, ocean, and the misty border between Artaeum and the main island of Somerset. "By and large acceptable," he proclaimed as the last student dropped her fruit in his hand. With a wave of his hand, the fruit and flowers were back in the tree. With another wave, the students had formed into position in a semicircle around the sorcerer. He pulled a small, fibrous ball about a foot in diameter from his white robes. "What is this?" The students understood this test. It asked them to cast a spell of identification on the mysterious object. Each initiate closed his or her eyes and imagined the ball in his realm of the universal truth. Its energy had a unique resonance, as all physical and spiritual matter does. A negative aspect, a duplicate version, relative paths, true meaning, a song in the cosmos, a texture in the fabric of space, a facet of being that has always existed and always will exist. "A ball," said a young Nord named Welleg, which brought giggles from some of the younger initiates, but a frown from most, including Sothasil. "If you must be stupid, at least be amusing," growled the sorcerer, and then looked at a young, dark-haired Altmer lass who looked confused. "Lilatha, do you know?" "It's Grom," said Lilatha, uncertainly. "What the Draug meth after they've Crevinism." "Carvinism, but very good nonetheless," said Sothasil. "Now tell me, what does that mean?" "I don't know," admitted Lilatha. The rest of the students also shook their heads. "There are layers to understanding all things," said Sothasil. "The common man looks at an object and fits it into a place in his way of thinking. Those skilled in the old ways, in the way of the Psijic, in mysticism, can see an object and identify it by its proper role. But one more layer is needed to be peeled back to achieve understanding. You must identify the object by its role and its truth, and interpret that meaning. In this case, this ball is indeed Grom, which is a substance created by the Draug, an underwater race in the north and western parts of the continent. For 1 year of their life, they undergo Carvinism, when they walk upon the land. Following that, they return to the water and meth, or devour the skin and organs they needed for land dwelling. Then they vomit it up into little balls like this. Grom, Draug vomit. The students looked at the ball a little queasily. Sothasil always loved this lesson. Fourth of Sun's Dawn, 2920, The Imperial City, Cyrodiil. "Spies," muttered the Emperor, sitting in his bath, staring at a lump on his foot. "All around me, traitors and spies." His mistress Regia washed his back, her legs wrapped around his waist. She knew after all these many years when to be sensual and when to be sexual. When he was in a mood like this, it was best to be calmly, soothingly, seductively sensual, and not to say a word unless he asked her a direct question. Which he did. "What do you think when a fellow steps on His Imperial Majesty's foot and says, 'I'm sorry, Your Imperial Majesty'? Do you think, 'Pardon me, Your Imperial Majesty' is more appropriate? 'I'm sorry, Well, that almost sounds like the bastard Argonian was sorry I am his Imperial Majesty, that he hopes we lose the war with Morrowind. That's what it sounds like. What would make you feel better? Asked Arisia. Would you like him flogged? He is only, as you say, the battle chief of Solrest. It would teach him to mind where he's stepping. My father would have flogged him. My grandfather would have had him killed, the Emperor grumbled. But I don't mind if they all step on my feet, provided they respect me, and don't plot against me. You must trust someone. Only you, smiled the Emperor, turning slightly to give Rija a kiss. And my son Julek, I suppose, though I wish he were a little more cautious. And your council? And the potentate? Asked Rija. A pack of spies and a snake, laughed the Emperor, kissing his mistress again. As soon as they began to make love, he whispered, As long as you are true, I can handle the world. 13th of Sun's Dawn, 2920, Mournhold, Morrowind. Tirala stood at the black, bejeweled city gates. A wind howled around her, but she felt nothing. The Duke had been furious upon hearing his favorite mistress was pregnant and cast her from his sight. She tried again and again to see him, but his guards turned her away. Finally, she returned to her family and told them the truth. If only she had lied and told them she did not know who the father was. A soldier, a wandering adventurer, anyone. But she told them that the father was the Duke, a member of the House Indoro. And they did what she knew they would have to do as proud members of House Redoran. Upon her hand was burned the sign of expulsion her weeping father had branded on her. But the Duke's cruelty hurt her far more. She looked out the gate and into the wide winter plains, twisted sleeping trees and skies without birds. No one in Morrowind would take her in now. She must go far away. With slow, sad steps, she began her journey. 16th of Sun's Dawn, 2920. Senchal, Anaquina, modern day elsewhere. What troubles you? Asked Queen Hassama, noticing her husband's sour mood. At the end of most lovers' days, he was in an excellent mood, dancing in the ballroom with all the guests, but tonight he retired early. When she found him, he was curled in the bed, frowning. That blasted bard's tale about Polydor and Eloisa put me in a rotten state, he growled. Why did he have to be so depressing? But isn't that the truth of the tale, my dear? Weren't they doomed because of the cruel nature of the world? It doesn't matter what the truth is. He did a rotten job of telling a rotten tale, and I'm not going to let him do it anymore. King Drozel sprang from the bed. His eyes were roomy with tears. Where did they say he was from again? I believe Gilverdale in easternmost Valenwood, said the Queen, shaken. My husband, what are you going to do? Drozel was out of the room in a single spring, bounding up the stairs to his tower. If Queen Hassama knew what her husband was going to do, she did not try to stop him. He had been erratic of late, prone to fits and even occasional seizures. But she never suspected the depths of his madness and his loathing for the bard and his tale of the wickedness and perversity found in mortal man. 19th of Sun's Dawn, 2920, Gilverdale, Valenwood. Listen to me again, said the old carpenter. If cell 3 holds worthless brass, then cell 2 holds the gold key. If cell 1 holds the gold key, then cell 3 holds worthless brass. If cell 2 holds worthless brass, then cell 1 holds the gold key. I understand, said the lady. You told me. And so cell 1 holds the gold key, right? No, said the carpenter. Let me start from the top. Mama, said the little boy, pulling on his mother's sleeve. Just one moment, dear. Mother's talking, she said, concentrating on the riddle. You said cell 3 holds the golden key if cell 2 holds worthless brass, right? No, said the carpenter patiently. Cell 3 holds worthless brass if cell 2... Mama, cried the boy. His mother finally looked. A bright red mist was pouring over the town in a wave, engulfing building after building in its wake. Striding before was a red-skinned giant, the Daedra Molag Bal. He was smiling. 29th of Sunsdawn, 2920, Gilverdale Valenwood. Almalexia stopped her steed in the vast moor of mud to let him drink from the river. He refused to, even seemed repelled by the water. It struck her as odd. They had been making excellent time from Mournhold, and surely he must be thirsty. She dismounted and joined her retinue. "Where are we now?" she asked. One of her ladies pulled out a map. "I thought we were approaching a town called Gilverdale." Almalexia closed her eyes and opened them again quickly. The vision was too much to bear. As her followers watched, she picked up a piece of brick and a fragment of bone and clutched them to her heart. "We must continue on to Artaeum," she said quietly. The year continues in First Seed. Our first scene is on the 3rd of Sunsdawn on the Isle of Artaeum in Somerset. We find Sothisil giving a lesson to a number of students. The statue of Ciribane is mentioned. Ciribane is the Aldmeri patron god of mages, and a god ancestor of magic itself, believed to be a student of Magnus, the architect of Mundus. During the lesson, Sothisil mentions the Droog, or Dreg, an underwater octopus-like beastfolk race. This race actually appears in Daggerfall, Morrowind, Oblivion, Elder Scrolls Online, and Legends. There are 2 other persons named in this scene, but only one that matters. Sorry, Welleg. It is the Altmer Lilatha, who appears elsewhere in history. She would go on to serve as Psijic Master of the Gazing Glass and appear during the Interregnum and the Plane Melt, and other events in history. The second scene, we are in the Imperial City with the Emperor. He is taking a bath with his mistress and complaining about his advisors and the potentate being spies and snakes. Some may have considered Riemann III to be paranoid, but it was somewhat of his own making and accurate given how things actually play out. The third scene sets us back in Mournhold in Morrowind with Terala, the mistress of the Duke of Mournhold, or former mistress. As we see, the Duke found out that she was pregnant and did not like that, and kicked her out. Then she makes the mistake of telling her family who the father of her child is when she goes home. The reason it's a big deal is she is of House Redoran, and the Duke is of House Indoril. Redoran and Indoril are longtime political rivals in Morrowind. Consorting with a rival house can bear a heavy price, which is what we see happen with her father also kicking her out, leaving her to head west in search of refuge. Scene 4, we are in Senchal in Anaquina, modern-day elsewhere, where for some reason King Drozel is incredibly upset at a story that a bard told that evening. Lying in bed, pouting. Next thing you know, he's leaping out of bed and bounding up the stairs with Gilverdale Valenwood on his mind. And it seems like nothing good is going to come from this. Our 5th and 6th scenes come from Gilverdale Valenwood. We see the arrival of Molag Bal, the giant red-skinned Daedric prince strolling through town, engulfing every building in red mist as he walks. We cut to 10 days later when we see Almalexia and her traveling companions approaching Gilverdale. She sees a vision and is taken aback. "We must continue to Artaeum," she says. And there we end the second book in the series. Volume 3 will be coming next Friday. Thank you so much for sticking around and listening. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me what you think about this book in the comments below. And may the blessings of the 8 Divines be upon you.